Make no mistake, I mean this full-heartedly. Friends, the Edmonton Oilers are the NHL's best Stanley Cup favorite out of the Western Conference. That I believe 100%. And the Oilers, going into tomorrow's game, just got that much scarier. Friends, this is Dolany TV. Good afternoon, good evening, good tomorrow, wherever you're tuning in from today. Glad to have you aboard for another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel. As friends, it is a beautiful day to be an Edmonton Oilers fan. The team finally, at long last, outside of three key players on the LTIR that I think are just going to disappear in the Netherlands tomorrow and the next day and forever and ever in history, are fully healthy at last. But before we get there, the housekeeping notes. Friends, if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate you considering hitting that subscribe button here on Dolany TV. You would notice, for those of you that regularly tune in, this thing is different. What is going on here? I've finally updated it with the new Dolany TV colors. So give me a second here. I'm just going to work behind the scenes to queue up the next graphic that we need to talk about. Because, friends, the Edmonton Oilers have a pretty big return on the horizon. Alright, enough of that. Let's get to this, friends. Sorry about the long graphic. My apologies. But I had to queue this up in behind it, where we get to big news coming out of Oilers land today. The university practice today for the Oilers. Well, barring any unforeseen circumstances, Evander Kane, who's been dealing with an upper body injury, is all we really knew. Some speculated ribs, then finally it was announced it was ribs, and then Ken Holland called this man a trade deadline acquisition for the second year in a row. Will be back in the Oilers lineup tomorrow against the Boston Bruins. Kane joked that he'd get in exactly half a season's work if he plays each of the Oilers' remaining 17 games. Kane has 9 goals, 10 assists, and 19 points in 24 games this season, so he will very well put up at least 30 points this year should Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman continue their dominance. Why do I mention those two players? Well, friends, there's another tweet right below this from Tony Brar of Oilers TV, who's got us going that Evander Kane is taking regular rushes with McDavid and Hyman at Oilers practice this morning in Boston. So there you go. Evander Kane will return, and the Oilers just got that much scarier, right? You thought, right, that lineup that beat the Buffalo Sabres in a 12-6 formation behind good goaltending, solid D, right? Not great D, but solid enough D to win, and some great scoring from the forwards. Well, it just got that much better. And don't forget the absolute tear that Evander Kane had in the NHL playoffs last season, right? For Connor McDavid, he had 33 points in 16 games played last year in the playoffs. But when you go back to the Edmonton Oilers scoring leaders for this year and go over to Evander Kane, 19 points in 24 games. He had a grand total last year with the Oilers of something crazy like, 39 points in 43 games. So it was a pretty good year for him. But that's not where he put in his work. That's not where he put in his best work. He put up 17 points, including 13 goals in 15 games played in the playoffs. The man was absolutely on a mission last year in the playoffs, and this year we will get to see him rock and roll that for us, now fully healthy after the wrist cut, the ribs injury, and he is ready to rock and roll in what can only be described. This is the best part of all this, right? The Oilers getting healthy, they're scary, they're great, they are the best Western Conference threat for the Stanley Cup this year, and the best part is we have to face the men that will most likely put up the task from the Eastern Conference to conquer that Stanley Cup, the Boston Bruins. And oh boy, we know how good that game was last time round, right? A couple goof ups in our own end, and Kyler Yamamoto getting hot but not scoring goals yet, missing a couple of wide open nets. The difference in that one, we were right there. Add Matthias Ekholm, Nick Bjugstad, and oh yeah, Evander Kane to the lineup. And guess what? The Oilers are set for the best matchup preview you will get, West versus East, for the Stanley Cup here in the month of March, I'm sure. The Vegas Golden Knights, the Seattle Kraken, LA Kings, all within earshot of the Oilers in the standings, and guess what that means? Realistically, as I've always said, the Oilers are likely to win the Pacific Division, and when it comes down to the conference as well, you look at who's atop there, the Vegas Golden Knights with 82 points. The Oilers are 4 back, 1 more game played than the Vegas Golden Knights with 17 to go. You are kidding me. With a fully healthy Edmonton Oilers roster and a team that is starting to buzz, and you think too, Devon Shore comes out of the lineup, you add a guy like Evander Kane, think about how much more depth and how much more scoring punch that adds to the lineup. The Oilers, with the defense starting to come together under Matthias Ekholm's leadership on the back end, and minutes coming off of Darnell Nurse and him improving little by little each game, guess what? We are set for some absolutely bonkers success down the stretch, right? I think many of us took offense to Ken Holland calling Evander Kane another trade deadline acquisition this year, as he did last year. But you know what? It is absolutely true. We get him just a couple games removed from the trade deadline. Yes, Puljujärvi's into Carolina's lineup now, so things have taken shape across the NHL, other places, and now we get our final piece added to that lineup. And guess what? When you're adding Evander Kane to the Edmonton Oilers lineup for the second year in a row, don't mind me at all. That is pretty fantastic to see what the Edmonton Oilers are going to be capable of this year. It's going to be very exciting. Sorry, I just heard the furnace do something funny. I'm hoping it didn't just die. Let's hope that's not the case on a minus 20 day down here where it's snowing in southern Alberta. But that's just it, right? Is the Oilers have added Bjugstad, added Ekholm, added Evander Kane into this lineup that was doing just fine, right? They were sputtering there for a little bit, that 4-game losing streak where we got points in 2 out of 4, whatever. But you look at where this Oilers team sits, you're 78 points, 7-8 in the West, and then Calgary's 9th in the West with 71 points. So a team outside of wildcard position is still 7 points back of us. So the Oilers, all they have to do is somehow find a way to get 17 points down the stretch in the next 17 games, and they more than likely secure themselves a playoff spot. However, a total of, 10 wins out of the next 17 could be the difference to win the division, realistically speaking. As long as you're positive, you could get the job done, but I'm talking 12, 13 out of the next 17, and these Edmonton Oilers could absolutely be stalking their way into the playoffs with a real good spot in the conference, especially when you consider the Dallas Stars are a point or two behind the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah, they're a point behind, 81-82 for the Vegas Golden Knights. So there you go. When it all adds up, friends, the Oilers are far from done, and they are finally complete. That's the excellent takeaway from today's news. I'm Tyson, this is Stolany TV. Friends, I hope you're excited because this is going to be one heck of a magical spring in Edmonton. I know last year everybody a little bit nervous, everybody a little excited, but we ended up getting a lot of excitement out of this one. I'm Tyson, Stolany TV. I got to go. Phone's ringing. I'm up on out of here.